Padmapurana. King Pruthu in the Surya dynasty. Vishnu inquired sage Pulastya about the mighty King Pruthu upon whom the earth was named as Prithvi. Sage Pulastya replied, Anga Prajapati was the descendant of Swayambhuva Manu and Sunitha was his wife. In the course of time, Sunitha gave birth to a son, who was named Vena. After growing up, Vena turned out to be an extremely religious person and used to spend his time committing all sorts of immoral deeds. The sages tried to bring him to the virtuous path but to no avail. They became furious and cursed Vena, as the result of which he died. The sages then churned his dead body, which resulted into the manifestation of a mean caste called Mletsha. They kept on churning his body, and in the process, an extremely virtuous entity manifested from the right hand of Vena. He held various weapons like mace, bow and arrows in his hands. He was none other than Pruthu, the embodiment of Lord Vishnu. After being crowned as a king, Pruthu was saddened to see the prevalence of immorality throughout the length and breadth of earth. The lack of virtuosity and religiousness among the inhabitants of Earth made him extremely furious. He decided to destroy the Earth. The Earth became scared and fled in the guise of a cow. Pruthu chased her wherever she went. At last, the cow halted at a place as she had got tired. To save her life, the cow agreed to fulfill all the desires of Pruthu. Pruthu then milked the cow, which later on got transformed into cereals. Similarly, all the deities, ancestors and other human beings milked the cow and received numerous invaluable things. Pruthu was a just king. Peace and prosperity prevailed during his reign. People were religious and free from any kind of sorrow. The earth is named after him as Prithvi. Sage Pulastya then went on to give a detailed description of Surya dynasty. Vivaswan, Surya, had 3 queens, Sanya, Raji, and Prabha. Raji had a son named Raivat, while Samga was the mother of Vaivaswad Manu, Yama, and Yamuna. Once, Sanya, being unable to bear the extreme radiance of Surya, created a superficial entity from her body and instructed her to act as Surya's wife in her absence. The name of this superficial woman was Kaya, who had 2 sons and 2 daughters from Surya. The names of her sons were Savana, Manu and Shaneshcha, while the names of her daughters were Tapti and Vishti. Shaneshcha became immortal as a planet, while Yamuna and Tapti became rivers. Vaivaswad Manu had 10 sons, among whom Ila was the eldest. After appointing Ila as his successor, Vaivaswad Manu went to do penance. Once, Ila transformed into a woman after trespassing a forest where Lord Shiva and Parvati were enjoying privacy. It was Lord Shiva's curse that any male who ventured into that forbidden forest would become a woman. Later on, Bud became enchanted by Ila's beauty and married her. Meanwhile, when Ila did not return to his kingdom, his brother Ikshvaku went in search of him. Ikshvaku reached the outskirts of the same forest but did not enter it. He managed to please Shiva by his devotion. When Lord Shiva appeared, Ikshvaku requested him to make Ila a man once again. Shiva told him that it was impossible but assured him by saying, if you perform an Ashwamedha Yajna and donate all the virtue thus acquired to me, then your brother will be able to live as a man for 1 month. But, after 1 month he will again become a woman. Thus, his form will keep on changing every alternate months. Meanwhile, Ila gave birth to 4 sons, among whom Utkal, Gaya and Haritashwa were prominent. This way, Ila became the source from which the lineage of Chandra sprouted. Ikshvaku ruled over Madhya Desh. He had 100 sons, all of whom ruled the territories situated north of Mayu mountain. Ikshvaku also had 114 more sons, who ruled over the areas situated south of Mayu. Kakustha was Ikshvaku's grandson. Kakustha had a son named Suryodhan. Some other prominent kings coming from this lineage were Pṛthu, Vrihadashva, Kuilashva, Purakutsu, Dharmasetu, Muchakund, Drinva, Tradaran, Satyavarat, and Sayyarat. The most truthful king Harishchandra was Sayyarat's son and Rohit was his son. Famous kings like Raghu, Dilipa, Durgabayu and Prajapati Dasharat were the descendants of Ikshvaku. Dasharat had 4 sons among whom Sri Rama was the eldest and who had killed the demon king Ravana. Rama had 2 sons, Lav and Kush. Bashkali, the demon king. Bhisma requested sage Pulastya to reveal why Lord Vishnu had to take incarnation as Vamana. Sage Pulastya replied, once, during Satya Yuga, the demons had defeated the deities and driven them out from their abode, heaven. The mighty demon, Bashkali was their leader. He had become immortal on account of a boon received from Lord Brahma. Indra went to Lord Brahma and narrated the awful tale of the deities. Lord Brahma assured him that Lord Vishnu would certainly help in this matter. Lord Brahma contemplated on Lord Vishnu who appeared in a very short time. When Lord Vishnu came to know about the deities' pitiable condition, he promised them that very soon Bashkali's wings would be clipped. Lord Vishnu said, very soon, I will take incarnation as Vamana. Indra will have to come along with me and demand a piece of land measured by my 3 steps. I shall then reveal my giant form and send him to the Patal Loku after making him bereft of his kingdom. In course of time Lord Vishnu manifested as Vamana from Aditi's womb. His manifestation was simultaneously marked by various auspicious signs. The air became full of fragrance, the deities started rejoicing, the trees started shedding flowers on their own and all the desires of living beings were fulfilled. Lord Vamana then went to Bashkali's palace accompanied by Indra. Both of them marveled at the grandness of Bashkali's city, which was surrounded by a high boundary wall. Bashkali was a very virtuous and benevolent king. He was truthful and well versed in all the scripture. His subjects lived in prosperity and enjoyed a long life. When the demons saw Indra coming with a dwarf they informed Bashkali. Bashkali instructed the demons to bring both the guests with due respect. Bashkali treated his guests with all honor and asked Indra about the reason for his sudden arrival. Indra praised Bashkali's benevolence and said, "The short Brahmin accompanying me is desirous of a piece of land measured by his 3 steps." Bashkali was amused at this ridiculous demand and requested Vamana to ask for anything he wished. But Vamana wanted nothing more than a small piece of land measured by his 3 steps. Chakravartin, Bashkali's guru, smelled something fishy and warned him, but he was not to listen. Bashkali then requested Vamana to go ahead and measure the land by his 3 steps. Suddenly, Lord Vamana transformed his physique into a giant size. His first step reached the Surya Loka and his second step touched the Dhruva Loka. He hit the top of the universe with his 3rd step, as a result of which water poured down. The water got collected and came to be known as Vaishnavi River. But the land had still not been measured, and hence Lord Vamana reminded Bashkali of his vow, and ultimately the helpless Bashkali surrendered to the will of Lord Vamana and sought his refuge. Lord Vamana blessed him and sent him to Patal Loka. Sri Rama kills Shambuk. After killing the demon king Ravana, Sri Rama returned to Ayodhya. Many sages had arrived there to bless him on the occasion of his crowning ceremony. Sage Vashishta was one of them. As Sri Rama was conversing with the sages, a Brahmin arrived there with the corpse of his son and wailed, "O son! Your death is certainly due to some flaw of Sri Rama. Now, your mother and I have decided to give up our lives as there is no point in living." Sri Rama's heart was filled with grief and he asked sage Vashishta as to how the Brahmin could be helped. Sage Vashishta revealed to Sri Rama that the Brahman's son had died a premature death because of Shambuk. Vashishta said, Shambuk is a Shudra by birth, but he is doing an austere penance. Shudras are not entitled to do penance in all the 3 yugas, except the Kali Yuga. So, only his death can bring back the Brahmin's son alive. Sri Rama instructed both his younger brothers, Lakshman and Bharata, to look after the state's affairs in his absence and went in search of Shambuk's boarded on his Pushpak Vimana. Sri Rama saw a man doing penance at the shore of a reservoir. He landed his Pushpak Vimana and went near that man. He introduced himself and inquired about the man's identity. Sri Rama asked, "Why are you doing such an austere penance? Who are you?" Without moving, the man replied that he was a Shudra named Shambuk. He said, "I am desirous of attaining Devaloka and hence I am doing this penance." Sri Rama took out his sword and severed Shambuk's head. All the deities hailed Sri Rama and the Brahman's child became alive once again. Manifestation of Ganesh and Kartikeya. Once, before taking her bath, goddess Parvati anointed unguent, an oily substance that is put on the skin or a wound, on her body, and while removing it created a human form from the accumulated dross, a mass of solid impurities. The head of this human form resembled an elephant. Parvati then playfully immersed the human form into river Ganga. But, to her sheer amazement, the human form became alive and of enormous size. She accepted him as her son and he was none other than elephant-headed deity Ganesh. Once, Lord Shiva became so deeply fascinated by her consort, Parvati, that he did not come out from his palace for 1,000 years. The deities became worried and sent Agni to find out the reason. Agni disguised himself as a parrot and entered the palace where Shiva was enjoying privacy with Parvati. Meanwhile, Parvati went to the bank of a reservoir to quench her thirst. After reaching she saw 6 divine women, matrikas, carrying water in the leaves of lotus flowers. As Parvati was thirsty, she requested them to give some water. The matrikas agreed on the condition that a son born to her, Parvati, should also have to be accepted as their son. Parvati gave her consent. The matrikas gave Parvati water to drink. Hardly had Parvati finished drinking water than a divine child emerged out from her womb. The child possessed various weapons like trident, shakti and a noose in his hands. He was none other than Kartikeya. The deities appointed Kartikeya as the commander of their army. During that time, a mighty demon named Tarakasha used to torment the deities. Kartikeya killed that demon on the request of deities.